plague, leprosy, the common cold. Illnesses could easily lead to death in the medieval world, but there were other ailments equally impossible to ignore. Even today, visiting the dentist can be a terrifying experience for some. So I've come to the Commandery in Worcester to discover what dentistry looked like during the Middle Ages.
The first thing I've got to do is secure your head.
Medieval dentistry then, this gives us a pretty terrifying array of tools. But presumably people have always had teeth. They must have always need to look after their teeth and deal with problems. What did that look like in the medieval world?
People have always had care about their teeth, including the medieval period. Fillings have been done since prehistoric times. We found examples from history of tools that have been manually drilled and filled. So, what problems could you be facing in the medieval period? Decay. Well, not so much sugar around, so the only ones who get near anything like that are the rich. So you're going to find more rates of decay in the rich. The poor, not so much. You might get erosion, teeth being worn away due to using the teeth as tools. There have been cords in their teeth, causing grooves. They didn't understand about caries. There were some pretty weird ideas along the way.
But did medieval people then think about stuff like brushing their teeth that we do every day today?
Yes, they did. Having nice clean teeth was important. Your average peasant, teeth may have been yellow, but that's it. But we have got some examples here of medieval toothpaste or dentifrices. And you're lucky, Matt, because you're going to be able to try some.
You say I'm lucky, but I don't like the way you smile when you say I'm lucky. Are these things that people would make at home for themselves?
Oh yeah, this one particularly. This is just mint and margarine.
Tastes quite minty, but it's very powdery as well.
Yeah, it is meant to powder.
And is that just abrasive, so it's just
It's
cleaning?
abrasive, removing the plaque from the teeth, even though they didn't understand that. But it's also giving you a nice fresh breath. Are you ready for a second one?
I think so.
Well, we'll use a different cloth. Now, this, a bit more upmarket. We've got pepper in this one.
Is that a good thing?
Yes, it is, because pepper was expensive. It's got to come from the east. This is really upmarket. This is a rich person's. Now, this has got pepper, salt, and mint.
Oh, getting the pepper. I'm definitely getting the pepper. What? Wow. That's an experience in brushing your teeth.
Yeah, that's an actual medieval taste.
By today's measures, would that do more of a good job than that would?
They're both abrasive. This has got salt in, and salt was used even to the 19th century for brushing teeth.
Oh, cricket. That's left a taste in my mouth, though, definitely.
You've now brushed your teeth. Gilbert Anglicus in the 14th century said this was really important. Right, after every meal, you brush your teeth, you rub a cloth around it to make sure there's no food stuck in between. But now we need to sweeten your breath. And for this, we've got a nice mouthwash. Now, this one actually comes from the 11th century. It's from an early medieval book, the Chronicle, and it contains wine, rosemary, and honey.
It sounds nice.
It does. Well, you're the one who's going to be trying it.
Just have a sip on it.
And I think you ought to take a good gargle, I think.
Do you know what? That's really nice.
It is.
It's really tasty. And what purpose would that serve?
That's going to freshen your breath. That's going to keep your mouth nice and fresh to prevent any rot setting in.
And I suppose with the honey and the wine, it is killing some bacteria in there, maybe.
Yes, and the wine is sweet, so it's also going to be doing some damage.
True. Yeah.
So the problem is you're dealing with a philosopher that really doesn't understand toothache. One thing that was believed was that toothache was caused by a toothworm, a little worm that would burrow up through the tooth to get the food on the outside and cause pain. While some medical writers believed in the toothworm, some didn't. The Islamic physicians certainly didn't. They didn't accept it. So we have to go to Gilbert Anglicus again in the 13th century for a cure for the toothworm.
So this is, if I've got a hole in my tooth, I believe this has been caused by a worm that's come up.
Yeah.
And I'm coming to someone to try and get some dental treatment.
Oh, yes. However, you'll be thankful, Matt, you haven't got to demonstrate this one. And what we would do, we would get some henbane seeds. These are exceedingly toxic.
And do they just come from a plant in the garden?
Yeah, henbane. Henbane can be fatal if ingested. So what you would do, you would burn the seeds and inhale the smoke. And the belief was that it will kill the toothworm. But you may end up having some very strange dreams while you're doing it.
Okay, so you would just get high and forget you had toothache, probably not killing a worm in your tooth.
Yeah.
So is that not really of any benefit whatsoever?
No. Even the Islamic medics poo-pooed this idea.
Interesting. So is there something more practical then that might help me if I come to you with a toothache?
Well, there is. You're quite lucky. First off, it's who you're going to. You're not going to a surgeon. You're going to a barber or a tooth puller. These specialise in doing teeth. If you're lucky and he's well practised and you've got a broken tooth, you might actually have a filling.
So is someone like a surgeon just not interested in pulling teeth?
No, it's too lower class. Even though they made recommendations and information about the tools, they didn't tend to deal with that. That was a bit too lower class for them.
So how many of this scary array of tools are you going to use to pull a tooth?
Depends how difficult the tooth is. For example, if it's actually just got a cavity, I might actually just fill it. The trouble is, the filling will contain arsenic. But don't worry, we're not going to do that today.
And you don't want to get too many teeth filled if there's arsenic in there.
Exactly. So, to remove a tooth, so here's a previous volunteer.
Thank you very much for saving me from this.
One way we could do, first we would cut the gum, exposing the root. Then we lever the tooth out. Now on this occasion we have been lucky. It has come out quite easily. But what happens if it didn't?
And also, you're still doing that with no kind of anaesthetic or anything. You're cutting away at the gums and digging the tooth out from underneath. That sounds really painful.
Oh, it is. We'll come back to that later.
Okay.
Now, I can use a pliers. Good tug, the tooth comes out. But there is a far worse method. And this is probably one of the worst things I can demonstrate. This is called the pelican. This was invented in the 14th century by Giovanni da Colli. This was used up until the 18th century. So what we do, we brace the pelican against the jaw, we hook the tooth, and we lever the tooth out. And that hurts a lot.
That looks absolutely terrifying. People really pulled teeth like that for 300 years.
Yes, and you run the risk of snapping the tooth off, breaking the jaw.
Why is that a better option than the pliers or cutting the tooth out?
Depends how stubborn the tooth is.
How much the dentist doesn't like you.
There is that too. However, we now need to move on. Where would you be?
Presumably you're not holding my jaw in your hand gently.
Oh no. And you're not going to be sitting comfortably in a nice chair either.
Still don't like that smile on your face, Kevin.
So we'll demonstrate.
Right, Kevin, how have we ended up in this position? I presume we're not making some clay pots.
No, we're not. When you had to have a tooth removed, it wasn't a matter of sitting in a nice, comfortable chair. You're in a very, very different position. Now, the first thing I've got to do is secure your head to make sure your head remains stable. So I'm going to do that by wrapping my leg around your neck. So, pop your head there.
That's not making it better.
Now, it's actually quite difficult to get out of this, isn't it?
I'm
I
trying.
need your head secure because you are going to be struggling. You're trying to get out. Now, be careful or I won't pull the correct tooth out.
I would just say, anyone who is scared of the dentist today, you want to be pleased they never do that to you. I've never been that friendly with my dentist before. Okay, so Kevin, I hope none of that means we're married now. That was all very close and intimate. Having got rid of a painful tooth then, in that really awkward kind of way, is there anything you can do further to help me? I've got a big hole in my mouth now.
But if I still believed in the tooth worm, I'd have to cauterise it. So I'll get my cauterising iron, nice and hot in the fire. I'd put the little cannula over the top, because we don't want to be burning the gum, and then I'd stab down and I'd kill the worm.
Are you actually just killing the nerves?
Yeah, I'm cauterising the nerve, even though I don't understand that. Trouble is, you've been left with an unsightly gap. I can actually help with this. What we have here is a selection of false teeth. Believe it or not, these are nothing new. The Etruscans, who inhabited Rome before the Romans got there, they invented these. You could have real teeth on some wire or some carved from animal bone on some wire, and then they'd be fitted alongside the adjacent teeth. And these were still being used all the way through the medieval period. Both Guy de Cheniac, a famous surgeon, mentioned them, and so did Al-Zawi or Albacassus, the Islamic surgeon.
How common and how easy to get hold of are these? Can anyone have a false tooth like this, or is it true that some people are wearing wooden teeth?
No, that's later. At the moment, only the rich can afford these. Actually losing teeth, if you're poor, would mainly through an accident. So, and their teeth on the whole tend to be pretty good. This is gold wire, replacement teeth. This is for the rich only.
So it's the rich that have the worst teeth health, but also they're able to afford the treatment and the replacement false teeth.
Oh yes, that's the story of history, really. You know, it's the rich that gets the pleasure and it's the poor that gets the pain.
And if we're looking at replacement real teeth, how are they getting hold of those? Probably sounds like a stupid question.
Teeth that had already been pulled out by the tooth puller or the dentist. All we're doing is the ones that's the best match. Nothing for cosmetic purposes. It's just, okay, that fits, we'll do that.
So I'm having one of my rotten teeth pulled out and having it replaced by someone else's rotten tooth back in. Wonderful. Sounds amazing.
While people are nervous about historic methods of removing teeth, and a lot of people would be frightened, something to bear in mind. The pliers that are currently used to remove teeth were invented in the 19th century, and they haven't changed. We're still subject to historic dentistry.
It feels like, in summary, a lot of what we would associate with modern dental care is here. You brush your teeth after every meal. You've got a mouthwash to freshen your mouth and do all of that. There are ways of dealing with painful teeth and of having teeth removed and then of putting false teeth back in. It's just that it came with an awful lot more pain than it does now. So I guess next time we go to the dentist, we should be grateful that it's all taking place with anaesthetic in a nice, clean environment.
Oh yes.
Thank you, modern day dentistry.